Oh, good morning, Reformed Church of Port Ewing. Today is Palm Sunday. It's the day when we hear that familiar story of Jesus' triumphal entry into the holy city, the city of Jerusalem. And our gospel reading this morning comes to us from the Gospel of Matthew. And in it, we hear that familiar story of the crowds who see Jesus coming and they gather and they welcome him with shouts, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And they throw their cloaks on the ground before him. They cut off palm branches and they also strew them about on the ground before him. And they welcome Jesus. They welcome him with great excitement. The account in Matthew ends by saying that the whole city is stirred up, but others say the whole city was trembling, and I think that might be a little bit more faithful. For the Greek word behind that is the root word where we get the word seismic in the English language. There's a palpable seismic trembling in the city that night. They knew Jesus as the healer. They knew him as the one who healed the leper and raised the dead. They knew Jesus as the one who reconciled and restored the demon-haunted. And they could only imagine that of all the miracles Jesus had worked, his greatest miracle was yet to come. And it was the miracle of liberating and rescuing the holy city, the city of Jerusalem, restoring God's people and their temple to its former glory. And they knew this. They knew that Jesus' greatest miracle was yet to come, because when Jesus was coming towards Jerusalem, they had remembered an ancient story, a story told about a man 200 years before that they had learned at the feet of their parents and grandparents, a man named Judas Maccabeus, who was a freedom fighter. And they knew that when Judas had come to Jerusalem to lead a revolution, he came and he is welcomed by the crowds who waved their palm branches, who sang their songs of victory and hymns and chants of victory as they welcomed Judas. And Judas indeed was victorious. He came to Jerusalem, this occupied city, and he defeated the Syrian king. He went to the temple and he restored and he reconsecrated the holy temple. He expelled the pagans from their midst and he bought Israel freedom for 100 more years until Rome came and once again conquered Jerusalem. And so when they saw Jesus coming to Jerusalem, they couldn't help but see another freedom fighter, another Messiah who had come to restore Israel and its temple to glory. And so they did what they did for Judas. They grabbed their palm branches. They started to sing and chant their hymns of joy and triumph as they came. And they borrowed the words of Psalm 118, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. It's a direct quote of Psalm 118. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna means Lord, save us. And Psalm 118 tells of a God who saves. The psalmist talks about being surrounded by the nations like a swarm of bees, verse 12 says. They surrounded me like bees. And I was pushed so hard, the psalmist writes, so much so that I was falling. And yet Psalm 118 is not a psalm of defeat, but a psalm of victory. I was pushed so hard so that I was falling, verse 13 says. But the Lord helped me. The Lord saved me. Hosanna, the Lord saves. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And so they begin, when they see Jesus coming, they think of their past 200 years before when another freedom fighter, another Messiah came to the city. They think of Psalm 118, the Lord who saves and delivers. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And they imagine Jesus as the Messiah who will come. Indeed, as Psalm 118 says, to open the gates of righteousness, to go to the house of the Lord, to make open the gates of the Lord, that the righteous shall enter through it. And they imagine Jesus as the one who has come, the Messiah who has come to rescue and save them. And indeed, I imagine that night as the crowds dispersed, they went back into their homes with their families and their friends, and that city, that holy city, was indeed trembling with excitement. The seismic, palpable expectation of what Jesus was going to do, what he was going to do next. The city trembled with excitement as they turned around this question, is he the one? Is he the king who has come to save us?